Hey everyone, I'm Jenna,
I'm Clint, and welcome to the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast.
where we chat Disney, Universal Cruise Lines, and beyond. Hello, Enchanted Parks and Ports. Hello, Clint. Welcome back from Wild Land and Sea. Like 2 week, is that right? 2 week adventure,
Yeah, we
something
were
like
gone for 10 days.
10 days. That just feels so long and yet so short, probably now that you're home. So, welcome home. Today is trip report episode for part one, which will be the land portion of this trip report. Part two will be the Disney Destiny. So excited to hear about that. That's a new to both of us ship and a new to a lot of people ship, right? Like she's pretty fresh on the fleet. So, yeah, we're going to hear a little bit about that, but we're going to stick with parks first because you had a whole vacation before your vacation.
Yeah, and it's the first time that I have done this kind of combo, right? I've
Yeah,
always done parks as one go or cruise as one go, but never backed them up to each other. So it'll be
right.
interesting maybe in our follow-up episode around the Destiny to kind of talk a little bit about, how that dynamic plays, because I know you've done that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting that we both did a land and sea kind of within the last, what, 4 months together. And
Yeah.
so doing that comparison, doing it so back to back does have a unique feel. So I'm interested to hear your takeaways from that too. So yeah, we'll hit that on the next episode, but in this one we'll chat parks for people who want to hear a little bit about Walt Disney World in the heat of July, over July 4th, all of these things. Before we do though, some news highlights. What's on your radar?
Yeah, so this one is a little bit rumored. I don't know that we know this 100% for sure, but there
Okay.
is rumor out there, and there's some things swirling around on the socials and the social media, right?
The internet?
Talking about Disney is doing a prototype and test of walk up lines and lists at both Beak and Barrel and Geo 82.
Like, I really, really hope this happens and works for a couple different reasons. One is just flexibility is really nice, especially with something like a lounge when you hit a point and you're like, hey, I want to sit down. I bet too, for people who are frequent park goers or people who are staying off site, might be easier to get some of those reservations because they're pretty sought after at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's a slight split difference between these two. I think Geo continues to get just all the great press for all
Yeah.
the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's outstanding. We've talked about it on other episodes. The interesting thing is, I think Beacon Barrel has a little bit run its course, and
Mm,
because you can find day of reservations
yeah.
easily at Beacon Barrel. It's not the challenge that it was in the first month, 6 weeks that this thing was open. And I think that's largely because people have found that the current menu is just not stellar.
Mm,
Right? I mean, I'm not
yeah.
gonna dig on it too much, but there's limited stuff to enjoy on this menu right now, and I think once people have been there and done it one time, they're like, "Yep, check, love the
It's there.
ambiance,
Yeah.
but I need something else to draw me back."
Mm,
And this doesn't have the quality that a lot of spaces do that gets that repeated draw like Geo. Geo
right.
gets its draw on the quality repeated. I mean, people go to this thing multiple times a trip.
Oh, 100%. And that's true. There is quite a difference in the reservation demand at this point. Beacon Barrel, I still think a lot of people who haven't done it, it's still worth doing and trying to find an ideal time. But I think it gets tricky when you're trying to find an ideal time in a Magic Kingdom day for people who aren't super experienced at navigating that park. So then reservations also become weird for people, right? Because they don't know exactly when to make that or if they're going to be able to fit it in. So again, a walk-up list I feel like is a huge benefit. So I hope this is true and works out for these two locations because I certainly will be utilizing it if possible.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great. We'll see where Disney takes it. Sometimes they test things and we never see them again. They'll reiterate and try it again. So, future forward, we'll kind of keep you posted. But you have some news on the Disney Cruise Line front.
I do. So I have both news and rumor.
Oh,
Shall we sit with that for a moment? So news, the actual news, the real reportable news is that there's a couple different Disney Cruise Line offers floating about right now. We've seen lots of great guaranteed restricted room rates. So that's something that's kind of ongoing, Canada resident rates. And then we have this newer one, save up to 1500 USD on voyage fare for select sailings. Contact your travel agent for specific details and to help you navigate which offer, if your sailing is applicable for more than one, which offer actually makes the most sense for you. But essentially, this one, folks can save up to $500 per guest on sailings between October and end of December 2026, as long as they book by the end of August, August 30th, 2026, on specific ships. And some ships that we see less offers on generally. So Disney Treasure, Disney Fantasy, as well as the Disney Wonder on the San Diego sailing. So if you're interested in getting on Disney Cruise Line for fall, winter, those Halloween on the high seas, those very maritime sailing cruises, contact your travel agent or one of us, and we will, yeah, chat you through if it makes sense or what sailings are applicable and kind of where to go from there. Yeah.
I was able to leverage this particular promotion for a client who had made a treasure sailing just a few weeks before, right? And then
Yeah.
when this hit, I was like, oh, because so often things get applied to new bookings. Like in the cruise
Mhm.
industry, you get this weird dynamic sometimes of does it count, does it not count? Where typically when we're talking Walt Disney parks, it applies to rooms as long as they're available. But I was super excited when it wasn't a new booking only
Yeah.
promotion and had a client who did exactly that. They had a veranda stateroom on the Treasure for a 7 night instant qualification. There's three of them. So all the way up to the $1,500 savings. It was brilliant. So great to get to deliver that news.
Oh, isn't it like such a fun thing to send that email? Yeah, and I will say Disney Cruise Line compared to other cruise lines often do let you apply it to like existing bookings, which is such a nice
Yep.
perk, right? If someone's not paid in full, you don't have to figure out that should we cancel and rebook and potentially lose our room and all these things. So this is just another reason to work with someone who's going to like watch that stuff for you because do you want to be watching it after you've booked? Probably not if someone else is already doing it, right? Yeah, so that's that one. And then Rumor Town. Do you know where I'm going with this
I
rumor?
have no idea what you're talking about with Rumor Town, so I'm interested
Okay.
to hear.
So, walking into Rumor Town right now, I have been manifesting something deeply, which is Disney Cruise Line from a place where I can reasonably drive to with my two children. And we have been hearing, there's been rumblings in the Disney Cruise Line community for a while about the return of New York sailings. I have nothing confirmed to report to you. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Who knows? What we do know is that Disney Cruise Line showed up as an option on the New York port page in the last few weeks. We also know that Disney Cruise Line has had clues in the New York Times crossword. Are they leaving clues for us, Clint? Is this happening? Is it really happening?
So now we're stocking crossword puzzles as well as license plates.
Absolutely. So we are hoping to the Disney Cruise Line gods that New York will come back because imagine, Ontario friends, we could drive. We could drive to the Mickey boat. That might be
You
very
could do
bad.
that now, probably on very limited itineraries, right? You're probably talking Bermuda, some of that kind of stuff, a little bit, but
Yeah.
still, that would be a huge option for folks based on the East Coast.
Yeah, like last time they did it, because they've done this before. It's not like a total will they ever be here? They have been here. They just aren't here any longer. But in the past they did Bermuda sailings and they also did some Canada East Coast sailings, which sounds super cool to me and would be something I'd be super interested in. So We will see, but stay tuned here because you know that I am tracking every moving piece of this potential puzzle. So we'll see how it goes.
And I'm sure Lucas is a little bit afraid that DCL would start sailing that close
Oh,
because then
deeply
the
concerned.
reason to not go changes significantly.
Oh yeah, like we don't even need the flights. We can just this weekend. We could just go, right? Right? There's no
Yup,
other barriers that I can think of. So we will
that's
see.
hilarious.
Yes, so we're tracking that closely. But for now, let's hop back to the parks and chat a little bit about the setup of this trip. What was kind of some big intention items going into the trip when you were planning this trip? What did you think about as you were thinking about doing the parks in July, over the 4th of July, and pre-sailing? Kind of all that context.
Yeah, so I don't know how transparent I was, us chatting offline before this trip, but this is one of the few trips and probably the only one in the last 3 or so years where we didn't stay on property.
Right. I didn't know that you were staying off site this time. So how was that as a comparison for you?
It was dramatically different. I'm like, we used to do this all the time. Like
Right.
you get so used to the rhythms, the routines that are life inside the Disney bubble, right? It's like here's how you go to the parks. Here's how you rope drop things. Here's how you end your evening. Like all of that stuff becomes a regular rhythm. And this was a monkey wrench to that. So, yeah, the impetus for this trip originally started out that we were going to go down and spend a little time just kind of surveying the area in Florida because we're
Yeah.
planning to move down there in about 18 months. And trying to figure out, like, if we're going to live in Florida, where are we going to live? Because we're definitely not living on Disney property, right?
Yeah,
Which is the place we know best.
we can't live in the bubble, so we do have to eventually learn something about Florida outside of the bubble.
And so a portion of this trip was set up as that. And then, again, with our recent addition of becoming an annual pass holder, then it was a lot more kind of how do we kind of blend this and,
Yeah.
access the parks at the same time. We ran Lightning Lane only one day out of 6 park
Oh.
days.
And how do we feel about that choice now?
I think because we had the sheer number of park days,
Ah, so that
it
helps.
actually didn't feel like we lost out on much of anything at all.
Right.
This is one of those things that was actually a learning for me that if I'm, thinking about guests who are going for, a 6 day park stay, those kinds of things, or maybe even up to 5, I really begin to question, do you need Lightning Lane
Mm,
every day?
right.
Like, can you be a little bit more strategic with when you're making that additional purchase
Yeah.
and what that looks like in the balance across accessing the parks and the rides? I mean, obviously,
That
we
makes
continue
sense.
to say Animal Kingdom doesn't need it, but if you're hitting Hollywood Studios, a day and a half to 2 days, and your day and a half and 2 days at Magic Kingdom, like, and you've got that much time dedicated to some of these parks, I think you can play and use other tricks that
Yeah.
get you the availability that then you're not going out of pocket for what is essentially always going to be the biggest, time saver, and that is Lightning Lane.
Absolutely. Or we'll do the stack non-lightning lane experiences on one day
Yes.
situation too, right? For our typical multi Magic Kingdom day visit. So there are ways to play it, and I think you're right that the more park days you have offers a different kind of tool and flexibility. And sometimes this is kind of an interesting question. Does the math support just adding a park day
It could, for sure.
and saving some lightning lane dollar bucks?
Yep.
Yeah,
Given how large your party potentially is, absolutely. Like, adding that fifth or sixth day on a ticket could save you more money than you would be spending on lightning lanes, or at least close enough
that it's worth it.
that you get a full another, 12 hours or whatever it is in the parks,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
So
you were
one of the
doing some
things
of
that
that.
was definitely different on this was thinking about how, because we continued to get to the parks early just because that is the one thing that I tell anybody that I'm supporting. I'm like, if you ignore everything else that I'm telling you,
Just go early.
get to the parks early for rope
Mhm.
drop. Like, do
Mhm.
that. You
Please.
can ignore anything else that I tell you. Don't
Yeah.
ignore that.
Yeah.
So we were living by our own rule, right?
Yeah.
Even though we were off property. And we were not getting early entry.
Yes. So this changes a lot of strategy in terms of where you head first sometimes, right?
Very much does. So in a lot of cases, we were choosing to go the opposite of where we knew early entry had gone.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about like a Hollywood Studios, people are going a handful of places. They're going to Muppets, they're going to Slinky Dog, or they're going to Rise, right?
Yeah.
So then you're looking at a Mickey and Minnie's, you're looking at a Mania, you're looking at Tower of Terror, you're looking at some
Right.
of these that
Yeah.
they're thinking are 2 or 3 layers in, and you're going first to that. So similarly across the parks, we were definitely kind of playing that opposite game that I think non-resort guests have to play. Like
Yeah.
if you're not playing that game, you're putting yourself significantly behind the wave
Yeah.
that are
It's
the resort guests.
Yeah, you just have to adjust, right? And make the best plan for your circumstance, not just the best plan that the internet told you without the context of
Yep.
I am starting late, right?
And it's one of those things that you definitely, from that standpoint, when you think about, and I felt it. This trip was, people say it's only 30 minutes.
But is it?
Yeah, but is it only 30 minutes that affects the entire rest of your first 3 hours in the park? It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things that, because I have run the same script so many different times, having to change my thinking was a bit of a brain derailment. I mean, we were still pretty successful, but it was a very conscious act to be
Yeah.
able to do that. And, there's, again, we talk about the ease that the bubble provides.
Right.
And these are some of the times that we felt it most.
Yeah. Which is something worthwhile for people to think of is those perks, but not just the tangible effect of what can I do in 30 minutes, but the feeling of ease that's attached to that, right? And there's great reasons why people stay off site, and it makes sense. And when you're living in Florida, there will be many a times that you go to the parks off site, I imagine. And it is good to have in perspective. If I want the most ease of experience, that will look different than if I want to, let's say, save the most money or stay with someone I know in Florida or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, it really does. And so one of the other things that really impacted, and again, this was new because I have not done a July trip before.
What have you've done September and you've
We've
done
done
June.
September, and a lot of ours were April, May.
Ah, okay. Which is
So,
kind of peak Florida weather. I love April, May, March Florida weather. June, July, September, August, those are different weather.
oh, it definitely a different animal because holy cow,
She was
the
toasty.
heat was no joke. I mean,
Okay, so talk to me about your strategies for that because I think this is a common worry and also something that people want to prepare for, right? They know they're going to Florida in July. They know she's going to be hot. So what were strategies you had that you actively like relied on this trip?
so I think the first and the one that's probably the biggest is, when are you choosing to be in the parks?
Yes.
Right? Like, get there early, be there late. That peak middle of the day, she hots up really, really good. So, we often profess midday break, go
Yeah.
back, get the pool, some of that kind of stuff. It was a little bit more interesting for us being off property because we
Right.
couldn't just hop a Disney bus and roll back to a resort.
Yeah.
So that's not something that we took advantage of. My brother was actually on property the same time, and regularly he and his family were like, we've rope dropped, we've had a good morning, these kind of things,
Goodbye.
deuces.
Yeah.
We are headed back to the resort, and they'd go hit the pool, do all those kinds of things. So I think that is always going to be your first best
Yeah.
kind of
Strategy.
method for dealing with the heat. The other part of it that is pretty significant is you got to know where the air conditioning is, right? There are some things we've talked about in previous episodes. So, you're going to your show strategy, even in a place like Magic Kingdom that has very few kind of shows, but you're going to hit a Carousel of Progress, although no longer open. But it was
Country
while we
Bear
were
has your
there.
back.
Country Bear is a big one, Tiki Room,
Yeah.
PhilharMagic. You're going to go get those.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing for folks to think about is we work really hard to be highly efficient in the parks. And there are times that picking the right queue and standing in an air-conditioned queue for a period of time is not a bad move in July.
Yeah, it's okay. It's good. One time Lucas and I went to Epcot without Abby, and we for sure stood in that Anna and Elsa line just for the AC. We got a video
Yep.
of Elsa saying hi to Abby that we later showed her, but we for sure were like, "Oh, look, indoors. Let's go there."
Yeah, so, and then I think the other thing besides what are the entertainment spaces that
Yeah.
give you access to air conditioning was also knowing, those handful of spots in each of the parks where you can escape the heat.
Yeah.
One of the ones that we've talked about most recently is the location at Tomorrowland Terrace, right? People walk by Tomorrowland Terrace at Mach 12 all day long,
Yeah.
right? And they're finding shade in tables, all of this kind of stuff, and they're tucked away. There is, I don't know, restaurant-sized space available at Tomorrowland Terrace that there's a million seats. It's outdoor, but it's fully air-conditioned outdoor.
Which I'm like, why? But thanks.
It is. It's like, thank you. So, in that moment that you're like, man, I need a snack. I need to recharge. I need a space with some AC. Man, you can roll over there. It was so good. There are those spaces in Epcot. Hollywood Studios is a little bit different. That's where you're playing the show game.
Yeah, you're for sure going to see Elsa. You're for sure going to see Ariel. That's
Yep,
what's
you're going to do
happening.
those. You're going to go see Indy just because those big fans, even though it's still an outside venue, those things are legit.
Like, I don't know. Those fans, are they doing it in July, the first week of July? You trust the fans?
We did because
Okay.
we were show hopping, right?
Yeah.
And at some point,
You
yeah,
gotta
Beauty
go.
and the Beast becomes attractive because we haven't seen it yet, but it's covered and there's some air movement. And then Indy and some of these others, right? So from that strategy, kind of time of day, then pick your attractions.
Yes.
One of the things that I was surprised by with this that I probably going into the trip would have said, hey, this is something you want to make sure is in your bag. Cooling towels.
Ah, is that something you've used before, really?
They've been great at other times of the year.
Yeah. So this
When
time,
the humidity is 90% and nothing is evaporating, they are wet, soggy noodles around your neck that never dry and are flat out disgusting.
So cooling towels were not the top of your list.
Nope, they were as ineffective. Like I've used them with great success
Yeah. Yeah.
at other times. This was not it. Fortunately, and this was one of those that in our June trip we didn't have. And I was like, well, I see everybody with them. I don't know, but we bought neck fans.
Yes.
They're actually surprisingly good. I was surprised.
Now, see, some of this also might be a personal cooling preference strategy thing because I find the weight of the neck fans just not my jam. It just feels uncomfortable and awkward to me. And I have one that I never use, even when it is blazing hot. And I went to Disney pregnant in the blazing hot. The feeling of it was not for me. So that was my equivalent of the wet noodle cooling towel, right? I would have taken the cooling towel. So it's one of those two. Maybe have multiple tools and then see what actually works for you or your kids because you have no idea what's going to set off your kids' like sensory no thank yous too.
You bet. And then the last one, and another part that we just expect but haven't run into with our previous trips, is the rain.
Yes. Yeah.
And we only ever had one afternoon where it downpoured.
Like before this trip or on this trip?
No, on this trip.
Oh,
Like
wow.
most
Okay.
days we got pretty lucky with the rain being kind of like a natural mister.
Right. Just a little mist.
Oh, we were so like we were hoping that those some of those
Yeah.
clouds would come over and
Yeah.
just give us a little, you know, a little cooling from heaven
Right.
as they. And so I was surprised though with just the sheer number of days. Like if you're going in June and July, count on rain. Now
Yeah.
it may not be downpour rain all the time, and I never even put on a poncho.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't
it
like
was
that.
comfortable that way, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with my shirt being a little bit wet
Yes.
after this because it's going to feel so much better once this rain is done, right? So we definitely honestly took advantage of some of that weather pattern in Florida to help make it more tolerable.
That's a great tip. And it's one of those too, like you don't realize that you'll appreciate it until you do. And it can really freak people out when they look at their forecast and they see rain every day on the
Yeah.
forecast, right? But keep in mind, it might be the rain that Clint's talking about. Or it could be downpour central, bring your poncho. So have the poncho just in case. Yeah.
And we got pretty lucky. The one time we got caught out in a really heavy rainstorm, we were in Tomorrowland in Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
That is a space where you go, there's a lot of cover. Like there are a
Yeah.
lot of places in Disney that there is no cover.
You're right. World
That one,
Showcase.
there was a lot of cover. So we were bouncing from attraction to attraction while everybody else is holed up inside the shops and
Yeah.
everything. Using, you might have to sprint across an open space, and
Right.
yeah, you're going to get a little wet. But while everybody else is standing around watching it rain, we were still riding Buzz. We were still riding
Yeah.
Space.
Yeah.
We were still doing all these other things that were fantastic. We just
Yeah.
got lucky to be in that part of the park
Right.
when that hit because over in Frontierland, that would have been rough.
Right. Yeah. Country Bear would have been real popular real fast. Right.
Like on repeat.
Yeah. Which honestly I'm not against. I do love the
No.
refurb of that show. Yeah.
So I think the other thing I would share with listeners is I shared that my brother and his family were down there, so there were 9 of them, and then we had R5 was the
Right.
largest group we had. So one of the things for listeners, just when you're navigating large groups, and I don't know what tips you have, is I think depending on age, right? You're not going to let your 7-year-old go run around Magic Kingdom by themselves, but you probably will your 14 or 15-year-old.
Really? As a little kid parent, I'm like, when do I give them freedom? I can't
Oh
imagine like
yeah,
14-year-old
easily.
Abby, but maybe one
Yep.
day. Oh my
And so that's one of the things that I would just share with kind of large group management and some of those kinds of things. You got to give people who you can be comfortable with them being safe on their
yeah.
own
Yeah.
the flexibility to go and do. Like moving
Mhm.
through the parks with 14 people,
It's
trying to do the
yeah.
same thing all the time and meet everybody's wants and desires. That you're just setting yourself up for, the Disney adult meltdown, not even
And
just the kid meltdown.
I would add to that too, even if we're not talking like kind of individuals, but I'm thinking we just got back from travel with my sister-in-law and her kiddos, and we just operate really different schedules. Like their kiddos stay up way later than ours. Their dinner time is often my kids' bedtime. Right. And we get up hours before they do. So it's just sometimes also a bit of like it wasn't a problem for us to already hit something in the morning on our trip and then meet up with them at breakfast.
Yep.
Right. Or things like that. So you find your moments to be together, but also don't be afraid, even if you have the young kiddos, to break off into groups that work for your party. Right. Because if I had kind of tried to keep Abby and Quinn just waiting until breakfast when we were meeting up, that would not have gone well. We needed to go to the park. We needed to do our own coffee thing. We needed to like have a moment first, right? So yeah, don't be afraid to divide and conquer in summary.
And that is the biggest thing is give that freedom, give that choice and
Yeah, I
save
like that.
yourself the stress.
Hmm.
Because if you're going to try to navigate, a group that's I even think, nine is, that 8, 9 range is a big enough group that you've got to start thinking about it. And if you're, into the high teens or 20s as a group, it's survival. Like, there's no way.
You find your obvious touch points to come together and then be open to, yeah, we're going to Tomorrowland, you're going to Fantasyland. Awesome. Can't wait to meet up for the parade.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Know those rally points and take them in when they're there.
Yeah.
But then give the freedom when they're not. So you mentioned something early in the podcast as part of the intro. Yes, we were at Walt Disney World on July 4th.
Yeah.
Even more than that, we were at Magic Kingdom
on July 4th. I
4th.
know. I was surprised you made that play, actually. And I was like, okay, this feels like I don't know if you have one of these. I have a Disney bucket list and actual like things I want to cross off, different experiences, different things I want to do. And 4th of July at Magic Kingdom is on a lot of people's Disney bucket lists. In a sense, I don't know if everyone writes them out like I do, but in their mind, it might be on their Disney bucket list. Was this something you intentionally wanted to do, or it was kind of a, we're here, let's do it?
No, it was a we're here, let's do it kind of move. And what was crazy was the morning, like up until, I'm going to say 3:00, the park was pretty sparse.
Yeah, I think I texted you something like, oh, how's it going? Like, how packed is it? And you're like, it's empty. I don't
It
know.
was not. I was so surprised. Like, we were zipping around the park, just going attraction to attraction, even without Lightning Lane, right? Because we didn't run Lightning Lane this day. And we were just getting stuff done, having a great time, and it's like, what is going on?
Right.
And then about 4:00 hits.
Something changed.
And it was a constant stream of people into the park, starting at about 4:00. The fireworks were going to go at about 9:30.
Right.
And so you just start feeling it kind of build. People still weren't hanging out in the hub and stuff, but starting, I would say, probably about 6. People started staking out their space.
Wow.
In the hub. And we were not going to crash the hub for the fireworks. I did that on my June trip.
Yeah.
Got that out of my system.
Right.
So we knew of a couple other spots we were going to hang on the Tomorrowland side. Yeah. Actually kind of back by the terrace was our original plan.
Right.
And we knew we were going to meet there probably about an hour before the fireworks.
Yeah.
Well, by about that 8:00, 8:30 time frame, the hub was so packed you couldn't move through it. It was nothing but a sea of people.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So we get over to the spot that we're going to call as a rally point, and the kids got there before we did. We couldn't get to the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though we were on the Tomorrowland side,
right.
Like in Tomorrowland, like proper Tomorrowland. We couldn't get to our kids from where we had come back down Main Street because I had the genius idea, and people don't do this, learn from me. I had the genius idea that I was going to go grab my first time ever popcorn from the confectionery before the fireworks.
You have been scouting that popcorn for many trips.
I have, and I was like, this is my window. I'm going to do it.
I'm doing it.
So we roll down to the confectionery.
Yeah.
Which we had to do through backstage access because you could not get down Main Street.
Oh, so they opened up other access.
They did on both sides.
They were like
around
we just gotta
towards
move people.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we get to the confectionery. It is jammed. Learned something. This is super tip. So they've got the popcorn counter kind of in the back of the confectionery.
Yeah.
Most days, that's probably okay.
Mm-hmm.
This line for that counter stretched up to the doors at the front of the confectionery. There were probably 60 people in line.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to give it a few minutes and see how this line moves.
Right.
In the few minutes that I gave it, the line didn't move at all.
And you were like, okay, new plan. So you still
So
didn't get
this
your muffin.
wonderful other lady, this other guest says, guys, you can order popcorn at the counter.
Oh.
So she says, I got mine in like 5 minutes. So she says this to a whole group.
Oh, no.
Nobody else moves.
Oh.
Like they don't believe her.
Interesting. They don't want to gamble their spot.
I'm like, yep, I'm stuck at the back of this thing.
Yeah.
I am in. Bounce over to the counter, wait like, I don't know, 5 minutes behind a few people who are already there. Sure enough, roll up to the main counter, say, I'd like to order some popcorn. They're like, beautiful. They read you off the list. Here's what you want. Because the thing is, they're not actually making the popcorn at the popcorn counter. They make it in the full back of the confectionery.
Interesting.
And they just bring it back up. They call your name, they hand it to you. So if you're trying to get popcorn, even on a day that is not the 4th of July,
right,
don't go to the popcorn counter. Go up to the main counter, order your popcorn. You'll have it 3 times as fast as anybody else.
Yeah.
And you'll feel like you won.
That is an excellent tip. And you were probably feeling so good until you were like, oh, no, we can't get to the kids.
Yeah, so then we backtrack and get over towards Tomorrowland Terrace. So you know where the purple wall is.
Yeah.
Maybe our listeners do, but there's some big rocks that are right there on the edge of the walkway. We ended up watching the fireworks in a gap between those rocks.
Yeah.
That because the cast members had taped off, like you could stand in like a 2-foot wide space on the edge of the
like,
walkway.
Right, I'll take it.
We were there an hour before
Yeah.
the fireworks were going to start.
Wow.
And that's the only space we could get.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for the cast members because as you got to 30 minutes, 15 minutes before fireworks, people were wanting to pack these walkways. Mm-hmm. And the cast members had to continually say, guys, you got to move along. You can't stand here. You got to be inside the tape. Yeah. Well, we were taking up all the space on the inside of the tape. Everybody who had gotten there earlier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, it ended up, we had some folks who had gotten there after we did, but were still inside the tape, that they had littles. Right? And I was just like, I can see over these kids, right? I'm not going to let the adults in front of me. Too bad. Like, you're stuck back there.
Yeah.
But I'm turning around to folks. I'm like, if you're willing to let your kids stand in front of us, we will let them in front of us. Mm-hmm. And a few people were like, yeah, no problem. So we gave that courtesy with some kids. But it was chaos. And what I heard then after was they did max the park and stop letting people in from about, I guess that happened probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah, wow.
Through the end of fireworks when a lot of people started to leave. Our plan was to watch fireworks and then quickly go to Tomorrowland and go spend some more time.
Yeah.
That did not happen.
What happened after fireworks?
So we got clear of the fireworks. Like, we expected people to leave the park after fireworks.
Yeah.
Not on the 4th of July.
No, they got there at 4 o'clock, so...
The lines, the second fireworks were over, the lines went through the roof.
So I have one quick question before we continue. Do you feel like they started coming in at 4 o'clock or at 2 o'clock? Because there is the after 2 p.m. ticket. I wonder.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was associated with the ticket. I think these are people who probably had hoppers.
Or are locals and are coming in just for the show.
Yeah, and they probably thought that they're like, hey, Magic Kingdom's probably going to be crazy all day. Like, people are assuming this. It's like a party day, right? Everybody assumes, oh my gosh, it's going to be so crazy, blah, 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 whatever. And nobody then shows up to the park. Well, that was the experience for the morning.
And then they showed up later.
And then everybody showed up later. And then stayed because it was open till midnight, right? So they had extended the evening hour.
I like that.
And so as soon as we got done with fireworks and went to go ride some rides, and I'm looking around at these wait times going, there is no way.
Yeah.
I am not. So we actually ended up leaving being those the people who did leave the park, just
Yeah,
because I wasn't willing to go wait in some of these times. I was
right.
like, I've done Magic Kingdom all day. We've gotten the ride fix. We're
Yeah.
good. Nope.
Well,
We're gonna
especially
we're
if you
gonna
had such a successful morning, right? At that point, you're like,
Yep.
all right, well, let's call it. Yeah, that makes sense. So, 4th of July, what I'm gathering from this is expect crowds to build, right?
Definitely.
And if you want a fireworks spot, early is the game.
Yeah, don't be those people, because I did feel like there were a lot of people who were like, man, we're gonna go get some things done and then we'll go to fireworks. Like, if you're showing up because you want to see the fireworks,
Go to the fireworks.
then go to the fireworks.
Yeah,
Because if it was that important to be there, then go do that thing and
yeah,
prioritize it.
yeah,
Because I felt really bad for cast members who were being not treated well by people who created their own problem.
yeah, yeah. That's one of
I
those, if
mean,
I was a cast member, I would not want to be assigned crowd control on 4th of July. That's one of those, oh no, can I do any other job, please?
yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I want to share a little bit about one of our park days that turned out to be a bit unique.
Okay, do tell.
In that, we ended up rope dropping at Animal Kingdom. So
Okay,
we rope drop. I mean, it's the move. We talk about the move all the time. You go to Flight of Passage, right?
yeah.
You're hitting Navi, you're rolling over to Safari, you're doing all that kind of stuff.
And how did that work for you? Because I was a little late on early entry, so probably would have been comparable to someone staying off site when I went
Yeah,
in,
it was great.
and it was fine. Yeah, okay,
It was
great.
fine.
I just had a really
So then
crowd week then. Yeah.
we ended up going over to Hollywood Studios
Okay.
because we were going to spend some time in both parks. So we bounce over to Hollywood Studios. Oh, hang on. No, I'm going to back this up. We ended up bouncing over to Magic Kingdom because we were meeting Courtney over there to just say hi, because this was
Yeah.
on the one day that Terry Ann, before she had to fly out, could connect with. So we bounce over to Magic Kingdom, meet Courtney,
Right.
and it's like, hey, cool. Well, we were going to ride an attraction or a couple with them and then let them spend the rest of the
Yeah.
day with Abby's family, right? So we're like, great. So we're over there, and they're like, hey, we're going to go ride Tron because the wait is like 35 minutes,
Okay.
which was shocking.
Right. So why not?
So we did that,
Great.
right? And so as we ride Tron, so now we've done Avatar
Right.
Flight of Passage, and now we've done Tron.
I'm liking where this is going for you.
And so the other thing that Terry Ann and I really wanted to do that day was we were going to go to Epcot and go to La Cava,
Okay.
because she had not been to La Cava. I had talked, or no, we wanted to repeat it from our previous trip. And so we had a great opportunity, because it was just she and I. We were leaving Magic Kingdom. It's like, we're headed to Epcot,
Nice.
and we've got most of the day left. I mean, it's probably like, I don't know, noon at this
And you've
point.
been in 3 parks.
Yeah. Well, we've been in 2 parks. We're headed to our 3rd park.
Right, you're headed to your 3rd park. Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, I'm looking like, okay, we're headed to Epcot and we're going to go to La Cava, but I'm sure there's something we can do before we do La Cava because we have time.
Yeah.
And of course, that thing was like, we can do Cosmic Rewind.
I love that. How long was the wait? Was it also remarkably low?
It was, I want to say, 50 minutes.
Which is not terrible for that ride.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
And so the bookend on the rest of this day was we had to meet my brother back at Animal Kingdom for a Yak and Yeti reservation at like 6:30.
Nice.
So we jump in the line, do the 50-minute wait, go over to La Cava. We eat some chips and salsa doing all of this. As we're sitting there, I'm like, so we've done Flight of Passage.
Yeah.
We've done Tron.
Yeah.
And now we've done Cosmic Rewind,
Yeah.
all in the same day. And I'm like, the Skyliner
Is there.
to Hollywood Studios
Yeah.
is just right there out the back of the park.
Uh-huh.
So, sure enough, It's like I can convince Terry to go with me on this, right?
Right.
It's like she's willing to take. So we go over, jump the Skyliner, slide over to Hollywood Studios, go over, and we were initially going to just do single rider line
Right.
at Rise of the
For
Resistance.
Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, not Smuggler's Run.
For
That's funny.
people who need to go back and watch
Yes.
my trip report.
So we're gonna do Rise. We were gonna do it through the single rider. Well, we get there and the sign is showing 25 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, that's a win. So we jump in the main queue.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the sign hadn't been updated a minute. So we get in and we get through most of the queue. There's you get into the armory room and then you go through the flights, the flight prep room, and then you've got a couple of turns into the Ray room. So we hit the armory and the line just comes to a grinding halt.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, oh goodness, did I misplay this? So part of me was like, maybe we just need to go jump in the single rider. But the problem was we had already committed to the other, like there was this real tug of war.
Yeah.
So I decided in my head that there was a certain point in time that we had to finish Rise of the Resist, or we had to get to the Ray room in order to finish it so that we could get back to our dinner reservation.
Right.
So we continue to proceed through the queue. Well, just as I'm looking at my watch and we're getting ready to have to like race out of this and say didn't happen, we end up right at the Ray room. So
like,
fortunately, like by the skin of our teeth, we end up getting to the Ray room, riding Rise of the Resistance, racing out of the park, catching the bus, and we were super fortunate because again, the Disney gods were smiling upon us because the bus for Animal Kingdom was sitting there.
Right. Uh-oh.
So we jump on it.
Yeah.
And roll over to Animal Kingdom. We ended up having like 20, 25 minutes more time because the bus was already there than what I was really worried about. So we actually had a chance to ride the premier attraction in all 4 parks in one day. That was pretty cool.
That's super cool. Because even when people talk about doing a 4 parks challenge, rarely with the prime attraction.
It was hard. We got lucky with some of that kind of stuff. I watch All Ears or Molly and they do these attractions, challenges, all that kind of stuff. Man, they know their stuff because, wow, some of the stuff they get done because just doing those 4.
Yeah.
Now, we did stop at La Cava for a chunk of time and we weren't using, some of the other, we weren't using Single Pass and some of these kinds of things, but it was super fun. Had a great time. Couple of other things that I just want to highlight as we roll through this is we actually got to eat at Tusker House.
Oh, cool. What did you think of Tusker House? Because this is one that gets consistently great press.
Go to Boma.
Oh, and so why is that? Do a comparison for me. So one is Mickey's not at Boma.
Mickey's not at Boma. Well, you're right. If characters is your goal,
yes,
then of course you're going to go to Tusker House.
Right. And did you do breakfast or dinner? Because this also
we did brunch.
Okay, so you're comparing apples to apples here because you did Boma.
I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Hands down, flavor for flavor, item for item, Boma has Tusker House beat, no question.
Interesting.
It wasn't even close. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting the quality that I get at Boma.
Right.
I mean, they're right close to each other. I mean, like it's like, really? Come on. It's not like I'm talking about, something over near Magic Kingdom that would have a completely different flavor profile. I'm like, just give me Boma on repeat.
Right.
And it wasn't that.
No, it was different, eh?
It was much more reserved as far as just the flavor forward nature of the items on the buffet. I was surprised.
And I wonder if that's also part of it is Boma people are expecting kind of that more flavor forward feature, whereas Tusker House, because Mickey's there, Donald's there, etc., people are more expecting like, what can I usually expect from a character meal?
Yeah.
And because a
You're
lot of the restaurants in Animal Kingdom are more flavor forward, that maybe this is like a more reserved option for families. I wonder. I don't know.
I
That's
think you're exactly right. After I took a step back and actually thought about it, I was like, because it's a character meet and greet,
yeah.
and because they want to make sure that they're meeting a broad range of palates, they have really dialed it back. I mean, there are some flavor forward options. I would still say bite for bite, they're not as good.
Mm,
But it is one of those things that I think you nailed it. That they're just trying to make it much more family friendly.
yeah. So it is one of those, what do you need out of a meal, right? But if
Yeah,
you're kind of a party of adults or a party of folks who like that more flavor forward cuisine, then hop on over to Animal Kingdom Lodge is what I'm hearing.
for sure. I think the other dining spot that I just want to kind of throw some love to, and
Yeah.
it's one that you and I think regularly share with folks as a destination. Even though this park has incredible food options everywhere, is I hadn't been to Via Napoli in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
It is stellar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes people think, well, it's a pizza joint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. But it's an Italian pizza joint
Yeah.
because this is like legit full on European style Italian pizza.
Yeah. And it's one of those pizza's such an interesting one, right? Because you can get like such a range of pizza from the pizza that you can get at your resort to Via
Yeah.
Napoli at Walt Disney World. And there are different things at each of these spots. But you're right. This is like the premium. We want to have something our kids will eat. Like this is why we regularly frequent upscale pizza joints is we want to have something, Abby's not afraid of eating, but also we want to have something that we know is really good quality and tastes like something special, right?
Yeah,
And
and
so
it's exactly that.
yeah,
You can get your pastas, you can get those things, you can get your antipasta to start with those, but really the
but
star
get
of the
pizza.
show in this space, like if you're going there, like share some of the other stuff,
Yeah.
but also share a pizza because it is just so good.
And what type of pizza did you get? What's your go-to?
Um, I'm a very meat forward
Yeah.
kind of pizza goer, so we had a couple of those. We also had I think it was a mushroom pizza. It was good
Mm.
because we had relatively large group, so we got a couple of the smaller pizzas because they will make a pizza
Yeah.
that is like a yard long by a yard wide. I mean, they make some monstrous pizzas.
Yeah.
My suggestion is, unless that's what your family is going to devour, take the chance to,
Mix
select
and
some
match.
different flavors and because they're all fantastic.
That might also be a good large group tip. Is there some restaurants that maybe bode better to that experience than others? Like I would argue a buffet, you're going to see your large group less because people are
Yeah.
getting up at different times. It's like the seating is not always in a way that you can all sit together in the same kind of spirit. Something like Via Napoli actually might be a really good pick for a large group to also have the bonding experience of like sharing flavors and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's some of those pieces.
Well, and I'm just going to say, I think probably, price per person.
Yeah.
Via Napoli, I think, does have some good value because the pizzas are not crazy sauce prices, right? Sometimes, I
Yeah.
mean, it's you're buying a pizza at Disney, yes, so the prices increase compared to maybe your local pizzeria near home, but it's not so dramatically more
Yeah.
than that local pizzeria where you roll in and get a couple of those giant pizzas for a group of 15 people and probably your price per person is less than if you'd have done something else somewhere else in the park.
Yeah. Your chicken strips and fries could run you higher depending on how you slice it, literally.
Yep. So I think the last thing, unless you have other questions, that I just want to
Yeah.
share with folks from a ride hack standpoint, because this is
Okay.
one that I hadn't experienced before, and I was like, this is the way to do it.
Mm.
So it's one that Jenna has professed she will never ride again,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even
Terry and
though it
I,
has been rethemed.
yeah, Terry and I will meet at the new snack stand and wait for you.
So we are talking about Rock and Roller Coaster with the Muppets.
Yep.
We did a last ride strategy on that
Okay.
and ended up just by happenstance very near the end of the train.
Okay.
So, I think a lot of people vie for the front of this attraction
Sure.
because, you get the catapult launch, you want to be in the front, all of that kind of stuff. Pretty cool.
I also think it's just like some kind of deep memory where we're like, as a child, we must be the one to drive the car, right?
Yeah.
I just think it's like I know I don't get a steering wheel, but I want to drive the car.
So we ended up at the back and it's like, fine, no problem, right? It was the best experience I've had on that attraction ever.
In what realm?
What's interesting about it is because that is an attraction in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And they have to activate the different theming portions in
As you
sequence
go.
as you
Ooh.
go. If you're closer to the front, some of those things race so
So
by,
fast. Yeah.
yes, that you don't even realize what they are.
Right.
Where being in the back, because they were activating for the front of the train, we got to see so much more of the ride.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was surprised at the difference that, you're probably talking 70, 80 feet, right?
Right.
But that difference definitely made a difference. So future forward, if you're riding Rock and Roller Coaster and you want to see all the cool stuff that has been themed into that ride now, get the back of the train.
Nice. I like that tip because it makes sense, but it's not something that I think people think through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, shall we rapid fire?
Yeah, we got to do a little rapid fire. And as you said before we came on to record, apparently we've got some new
Yes.
rapid fire.
We repeat some favorite rapid fires, but I inquired with our friendly neighborhood robot to see if they had some suggestions of questions, and we do have a couple. Okay. First question is, what did you overpack? Like, what do you wish that you didn't pack?
Oh wow, great question. Well, interestingly enough, because we did a split,
Yeah.
we knew we were going cruise next, right?
Yeah.
We were actually really careful with what we packed this time. And so if I was overpacking, I'll be honest, a couple of the things that I took in anticipation of bad weather and rain,
Right.
like never took an umbrella to the park. I
Right.
carried my poncho, and we have durable ponchos. We're not just talking about the throwaway kind.
Yeah.
But when you're carrying for a couple of people, they pack a little bit of weight.
They do. Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, I probably would be a lot more judicious with what
Mhm.
am I taking for fear of the weather
Yeah.
future forward, because there are things that we just never used.
Yeah. Which is fair. It takes up space, especially when you're doing something like a 10-night trip. The
Yep,
luggage just gets so overwhelming,
for
right?
sure.
If you're a Jenna anyway, maybe as a Clint it did not get overwhelming, but as a Jenna, it gets overwhelming, all the things. So we overpacked rain gear. What did you forget to pack? Or you
Um,
realized like, oh man, I wish I brought that.
I can't think of anything that was like really top of the mind that I missed packing in this particular case. We were super careful. So
That's
I there
amazing.
wasn't one.
That's actually like deeply impressive, and I don't think I've ever said that on a trip. So well done, Clint. Okay, best purchase.
For me, best purchase I think was getting to wow, that's a tricky one. Our best purchase, honestly, I'm gonna say was our recent purchase with our annual passes, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because the best day we had on the entire trip for me from a land side was when we got to do that 4 park challenge and just hit
Nice.
the big attraction in all 4 parks, and that would have been possible without being an annual pass holder, right? That
Right.
gave us the freedom to say, today, we are going to end up riding a total of 7 rides.
Right. Across
But
all.
we're going to ride 4 that are the best attraction in every park,
Yeah.
all on the same day.
That's pretty amazing. And I do feel like this also makes a case for park hopper for other people.
Yeah, for sure.
But we will leave that for another conversation. Okay, and last thing that we'll ask for now out of these rapid fires is, what was a moment that made you laugh out loud?
A moment that made me laugh out loud was I got to, so again, you don't really realize how much you go to Disney until you're with people who don't go to Disney quite as much.
Ah,
And
fair.
so my brother's children had not been to Disney, Walt Disney World, in probably 10 years.
Mm,
So there were so many new things to go and do with them that weren't necessarily new for us, but they were
right.
definitely new for them. And they hadn't been to the Villain show.
Okay, yeah. So it felt new for you to watch them watch it.
It really did. And one of the cool things, and I don't know if people know this, I think it's out there in the socials, but Sage from All Ears
Mm-hmm.
is actually one of the characters in the Villain show.
Right. Yes.
And so I've seen it several times, kind of anticipating getting to see Sage on stage.
Yeah.
And this time we finally did.
Nice.
And the thing was, I was sitting there cracking up laughing more than I would because I can just see through the
Right.
costume and stuff to the person that I watch on YouTube all the time.
Yeah.
So it was super cool that
That's
you just got to have that, seeing somebody else that you know but don't know in a different light. It was pretty comical, and he did a great job. He crushes it. I mean, there's a
Yay.
reason they hired this guy.
So shout out to Sage, because I'm sure
Yep.
Sage listens to our podcast. So shout out to Sage.
So, but yeah, it was a great, first 6 days prior to our cruise trip. We had so much fun. And so again, learned some things and got to experience a time of year that we haven't in the past.
Yeah. And you loved it and had a blast. And so also this is don't be afraid of summer at Walt Disney World. You just got to strategize, think differently about your park days. You can apparently still do a 4-park challenge with the best ride in each park in July, and that can be a thing for you. So
Yep, and standing in those queues was not a bad thing.
yes. Yeah, standing in, I'm thinking Cosmic Rewind inside. Yes, please.
Yep.
I
It was
can
great.
understand that. Yep. All right. Well, we'll leave it there for now, but we're going to be filming a part 2, which is Disney Destiny portion. So stick around for next week to listen into that one. And thanks for being here and listening, everyone.
Yeah, so for another week, thank you to our listeners. Thanks to you. I appreciate you just kind of rolling through this with me. And so, Jenna, for another week, let's remind our listeners.
Adventures out there. Bye, friends.